Now, welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let us get right to the news.
So today we're actually going to talk about just kind of one story, because I think you'll have plenty to say.
What are you implying?
I think you know. Alright, so Obi-Wan Kenobi, the original writer for the planned movie, addresses how the story morphed into a series, and he did have an outline for a Kenobi film trilogy.
Interesting.
Yes. Writer Stuart Beattie was originally set to create the script for an Obi-Wan Kenobi film, which was then handed to Hossein Amani when it became a series and eventually wound up in the hands of Joby Harold, who would ultimately take over the show, alongside other writers like Andrew Stanton. However, the original story Beattie wrote formed the backbone of what would become the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and he explained the process and how that happened, including that the original idea was for a film trilogy.
Interesting. Don't know that we needed the Kenobi trilogy, but okay. Thought that was the prequels, but whatever.
No, that was Anakin's spinoff.
I mean, Clone Wars could be considered a Obi-Wan story as well. Not that I'm saying we couldn't have this story, but alright, well, go on.
So he did an interview with The Direct, and he revealed that he did not collaborate with the writers on the television series, as his commitment was only for writing the screenplay to the film. Following the box office underperformance of Solo: A Star Wars Story and the development of Disney Plus as a platform for new Star Wars content, it was decided that it would be redeveloped into a series. He says, "I wrote the film that they based the show on, so yeah, I spent like a year and a half working on it, and then the decision was not to make any more spin-off films after Solo came out. I left the project and went on to other things. Joby came on and took my scripts and turned it from 2 hours into 6 episodes, so I did not work with them at all. I just got credit for the episodes because it was all my stuff." Stuart Beattie is credited on the first 3 episodes and the finale alongside other writers, with he and Hossein Amani receiving story credits for Part 1, Part 2, and Part 6. Teleplay credit for Part 1 and a full writing credit for Part 3. Based on these credits and what happens in those respective episodes, it can kind of be assumed that his script would have involved Obi-Wan leaving Tatooine to rescue Leia and having a major confrontation with Darth Vader along the way. Elements like the path in the involvement of the Inquisitors, the possibility of third sister story being intrinsically tied to both Anakin and Obi-Wan, were likely added as the project was redeveloped into a television series.
Not surprised at all. I think we even, in one of our, discussions, we even said that the 4th episode really feels like it's just thrown in there to extend the series. It's like, Leia's going to get kidnapped again. Okay, Didn't we just go and rescue her? No, so, I think this makes perfect sense. You took a 2-hour movie, you bloated it to make a, 4 5-hour series, whatever it turns out to be, and you just added a bunch of stuff into a story that already had been written. That's exactly what it feels like, doesn't it?
It is exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, I've always said, or said multiple times, I think it's a fairly good idea to use Leia to get Obi-Wan off of Tatooine. I think that is a good, if you're gonna do it, if you want to do it, that's a good place to start, right? To get him off of there, and then you could move the story away from it. Instead, like I said, I think one of the biggest problems of the series is Leia was the whole point of the series. Everything just was led by Leia to get to Vader, instead of finding any other reason for the story.
Furthermore, Beattie noted that this script for a single self-contained movie was only the beginning. An outline for a trilogy of films was developed, although no treatments for the proposed sequels were finished, matching up with rumors from a long time ago, and it sounds like each story would focus on a different aspect of Obi-Wan's journey. He said, so when I pitched my Obi-Wan story to Lucasfilm, I said there's actually 3 stories here, because there's 3 different evolutions of the character that he has to make in order to go from Obi-Wan to Ben. The first one was the first movie, which was the show, which was surrender to the will of the Force, transport your will, surrender your will, leave the kid alone. So then the second movie was thinking about where Kenobi ends up. And one of the most powerful and probably the most powerful moment in all of Star Wars story is the moment where he sacrifices himself in A New Hope. Great moment, makes you cry. But if you stop and think about it, it's a pretty sudden thing to just kind of be fighting a guy, to see Luke and go, I'm gonna die. That to me, that requires forethought. That required pre-acceptance that this was going to happen. He kind of explains that the second part of the story was going to involve the Force spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi realizing that he would have to sacrifice his life at a crucial moment to ensure the ultimate victory for the future of the Jedi. Stewart goes on to say, so again, it's one of those universal things we all struggle with, to come to terms with our own mortality. So that was the second step of the evolution for me. That Obi-Wan now has to come to terms with his own mortality somehow, in a prophecy or Qui-Gon telling him, there's going to come a moment where you're going to have to sacrifice yourself for the good. And then Obi-Wan is like, what? No, I'm here to help. I can't. No. And we get him to that point where Obi-Wan has accepted the idea that he's going to die, and he's going to die willingly at a crucial moment, and you know when that moment presents itself. So that when that moment comes in A New Hope, you understand. He's recognizing he's been on this journey already, and he's waiting for this moment, and that's how he's going to be able to make it so easy to do this sacrifice and die. So that to me was the second evolution, the second film, the second story. So for me, if I have anything to do with the second season of Obi-Wan, that's the character evolution I would take him on.
Confirm that's coming, or
that to me is really interesting, and like I said, universal. It is
sure. I mean, coming to terms with your own mortality is probably the hardest thing to do in life, which is ironic, right?
Well, it's hard if someone told you were going to die, but it's even harder to say someone looks at you and says you're going to die, but you're going to do it on your, willingly on your, you're like, I'm really going to march myself to death, to my own death.
Well, I mean, the issue with that, not that I think it's a horrible idea. I think it's a solid idea, coming to terms with that, and I think there's certainly a story that could be done there. But I mean, he does know he's not like dying oblivion type death, right? He's not joining with the Force and becoming a nothing, which is what the Jedi not only believe, but what they accept, that they will join with the Force, and that's just kind of how life works. That's what comes after. But he is getting, he's going to become kind of this omnipotent, well, maybe not omnipotent, but, omnipresent kind of, spirit of the Force, where he's going to, kind of live in the past, present, and future. It's not like...
But it still can't be easy for anyone
No, I'm not
going to die.
I'm not saying that, he's, like, oh, yes, I'm get to die and become a Force ghost. But at least he knows that there is something after it. It's much easier to, accept death if you believe there's something after, which a lot of people do, which, let's not get into the religious debate. But, life is much easier, death is much easier to accept when you think this is just that's just part of the journey. And for him, it really is. He's literally talking with a dead Qui-Gon Jinn, and knows that after he gives his life, he is going to become a Force ghost, unless he fails or something. But, so I don't know that has to be such a profound thing. I don't know if that would be like the point of an entire movie or an entire second series of Kenobi. It's certainly an aspect of it, I think. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. That's kind of a lot to make a whole movie on or a whole story on, when it just feels like it's something that Kenobi would be like, yeah, I don't really necessarily want to die, of course, but at least after this death, I get to become something. I'd be more powerful than you can possibly imagine. That's not a terrible deal, right?
But I mean, depending on how he set the movie up, he could be coming to the terms after this season that the galaxy, the path, needs him or whatever. And how do you say I'm just going to die? And I know it's for the greater good, but I'm doing good here too.
No, I'm not saying
it's interesting because it's going to be more of that introspective. It would have been more of that introspective.
Yeah, which I think is what people really want. I'm not saying it's a terrible idea. I'm just saying it in itself, I don't know that there's a whole story just with that. With just coming to terms with that, when he is all but guaranteed that he has a life after that he will carry on. I mean, he is, like I said, he's literally talking to his dead master, who's telling him, hey, you do these things and you get to come join me on the other side. Now, it's not like, it's not like life, but I'm sure it's not as bad as Oblivion, right?
Right. So it seems like this story idea could very well be explored in a potential follow-up to the series. Obi-Wan has still yet to learn how to become a Force ghost. That potentially leaves the door open, I guess, for further adventures into the Obi-Wan Kenobi story before the events of A New Hope. Something the cast and crew of the series have expressed lots of hope and interest in doing.
It's absolutely happening.
In the end, the experience seems to be on the bittersweet side for Beatty, as he notes that although he's thrilled with the end result of the series and that a version of what he worked on saw the light of day, he wishes he got to do a full Star Wars trilogy. He says, I'm glad I got to make it. I'm glad the show got made. I'm proud of my story that got told. I'm glad my characters are all through it, and I'm glad I got credit for it. I wish I wish someone else would make my movies.
That's a bold statement to call them your characters.
Well, no, the ones he chose to be in there, and the versions he wrote of them.
I don't know.
He did not claim credit.
I know.
Reva.
It comes.
It's not his.
No, I'm just saying, like, Obi-Wan Kenobi is not quote unquote his character. I mean, he got to use it certainly, but I don't know that I would say that's my character.
Well, you know what he's trying to say.
Yeah, I do. I just find it a slight humorous thing there. So, what is the third movie? Do we not know? Did he only say the first two?
He didn't talk about what he was going to include in a possible third.
I mean, where do you go from there? Once Obi-Wan has committed, and I mean, it's just the waiting game, right? Just waiting to. What are they going to call the third part of the Kenobi trilogy? Waiting for A New Hope.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would be
too cheesy.
I was joking, but I mean that's literally. I mean, once Kenobi has accepted what he has to do in that film, like what are we? And then it just feels like an excuse for a third movie.
Okay, so let's move on to the last bit of news we're going to talk about today. Even though I know I said one story, there's tiny bit of. Okay, so Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023. The tickets go on sale this week. Hooray! I mean, it's less than a year away. Reed Pop have announced tickets for next year's event are going on sale Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be in London it's going to be an Easter weekend, Friday, April 7th to Monday, April 10th. Tickets are going to be available for the full 4-day event, and of course there'll be individual tickets per day. 4-day adult tickets will be about $169 US. Individual days will cost $65. A limited number of the Jedi Master tickets, of course, will also be available. Those are $840 each. Remember, these VIP tickets include entry to the show floor and store early, guaranteed seating to all the celebration stage panels, and more. It is important to note the prices do not include VAT, which is pretty much tax, and it's 20% in the UK. Full details can be found on their official site. Yippee. I mean, the original Celebration Anaheim tickets for the 4-day passes sell it within a few hours, but European celebrations have been a little bit of a smaller events sometimes, so tickets may not sell out as fast. But if you're planning to go, get your tickets, make your reservations as soon as available.
Yeah. I mean, we will not be going, but...
No, Thor doesn't want to take me to London.
Yeah, that's what it is. Mm-hmm. But no, hopefully the following year, if it returns to the United States, we will be attending that one.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we went to the one in Chicago back in 2019, but not the one here in Anaheim.
Nope, not the Anaheim one. We couldn't get our schedule open.
No, but anyway, if that interests you, obviously, get your tickets. If not, well, I guess that's all we got for you this time. So take to the comments below. Tell us what you think about this proposed Obi-Wan trilogy that never came to be. And do you feel like the first movie he had planned is really just season 1 kind of bloated? Whatever the case may be, leave your comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.